If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350.
Tonight's stage is the last great Coliseum, and the street stock handles every degree of banking with ease. Sparks will fly, sheet metal will be used, and a bounty is set on a certain 3-time race winner ahead of this Week 4 matchup. We're at Bristol Motor Speedway this evening in the virtual Bristol, Tennessee. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual world's fastest half mile. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Murdos alongside, and it is a pleasure to join you for tonight's coverage of Lucky Motorsports Street Stocks, brought to you by Elevated Performance. Tonight's coverage is brought to you by Elevated Performance, brought to you by Lucky Motorsports Solutions, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams, and brought to you by CC's Business. It's been a little bit since we've gone racing with these guys, a couple of weeks, in fact, since we've been on track at Langley, Larry King Law's Langley Speedway in the virtual Langley, Virginia. It has been a little bit, and we are glad to be back here racing. This is going to be a fun time, I think. Bristol Motor Speedway, a really, really cool racetrack, of course, has seen NASCAR racing for the better part of NASCAR's tenure as a series, and we're here this evening in Street Stock. Zach, changes things up a little bit, but you've recently been on track in Street Stocks at this racetrack. Race number 4 going to be, I think, a pivotal one. It's a bit like a super speedway, really tall banking, really high speeds. We're in for a pretty good night.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed a lot when it comes to the street stocks here at Bristol is that when the right front sets down into the corner, it can tend to make the car bottom out. So it's going to be a bit of a handling challenge for these guys here at Bristol tonight. You can see here on the track map that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, it's dual pit lane tonight or single pit lane?
I believe we're going to be trading it with a single pit lane, but I also don't think we're going to need the second pit lane for it to matter. We'll find out pretty quickly. It might be dual, that way these guys can get in and out of pit lane quicker, considering they are in street stocks, and they don't have NASCAR pit crews. Time will tell. We'll find out, I think, when we get our first caution flag. But this is the single pit lane that is denoted on the track map. If it's dual, they'll just enter out of turn 4 for the front stretch, or enter out of turn 2 if they need the backstretch pit lane. I mean, we have 19 cars on the racetrack currently in practice. I don't think we'll be running into that issue, thankfully. Let's take a look at point standings as we come into week number 4, and as I mentioned, we have had a particular race winner. Now 3 races in a row. Tim George in control of the series.
Absolutely. Tim George has been on an absolute tear throughout the first few races of the season, and he's still sitting comfortably, I think, about 6th in practice right now. So he's definitely got a lot of speed rolling in tonight. David Levine, Zach Schucker, the only 2 that are still relatively close to him, other than Tyler Langenberg, who are 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And, you know, like we talked about in the last race, there's going to be a playoff format where we're going to have 4 drivers at the end of the season go for the championship as long as they have enough points or if they have the wins. So it's stay up there in those top 4 on the points and do everything you can to be able to make sure that you're there running for a championship at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that might sound easier than it actually will be. I think it's going to be difficult to get that, get to the top 3. You're going to have a few guys that drive away for sure. We're already seeing that in the current standings. Fixing some audio in the background, trying to work with iRacing to not have the same audio issue we've had for the last couple of months, but it seems like the sim does not want to work with us. Anyways, we've got audio. You should hear race cars and the racetrack. That's going to sound a lot better than just music. Let's get back to the standings, shall we? Tim George has that 20-point lead. He's already making a really strong case for being the driver locked in with the most wins. So the next 3 going into the playoff of just one race would be David Levine, Zach Schucker, and Tyler Langenberg. You have to have the most wins or be the top 3 in points otherwise. And I think Tim George, again, don't know what's going to happen tonight, but even once we get back to some more traditional short tracks, he's just got this street stock figured out, it seems like. It's going to be tough to uproot him when he's already got a 20-point lead after 3 races. And there will be a couple of drop weeks figured in, which will tighten things back up and throw in a couple of extra elements, but those are not figured yet into these points. These are the points for all 3 races we've run so far. Honestly, Zach, I think that the top 4 is who should be racing for a championship as we speak.
Absolutely. I think, honestly, I'm going to make a bold prediction here. He's had the speed, he's had the drive, and the competitiveness, and I think if he didn't have a few mistakes at Langley, he would have been the one winning the race. I think David's going to end up walking out of here with maybe a win or 2 this season, hopefully, and I think Schucker and Langenberg might actually show up and show out for a win one of these races.
Very possible. I think a lot of drivers have been very, very close to winning races in these Lucky Motorsports street stocks. Practice has just wrapped up behind us. Now 5 minutes of qualifying headed to the track. Let's take a look at our schedule, how we've gotten here so far, and where we're going the rest of the season. Now these tracks will not be changing, but it sounds like there will be a schedule change made. Keep an eye out in the league Discord for more information there to all of you drivers. But it sounds like Tsukuba will be backed up by 1 week. The rest of the schedule should stay the same, but there may be ripple effects throughout. Regardless, we still have these 16 tracks ready to go. Well, I guess 15 and a half tracks, if you will, with the linear dirt and the linear pavement races. But Zach, next up after Bristol, we're headed out to Tsukuba. That's going to be a lot of fun. Our first road race with these guys in late models or street stocks. Well, no, we did run Mid-Ohio. Our second road course race as qualifying gets started, and boy, we've got a newcomer here in Travis Sukup who clearly has got some speed.
Absolutely, and I still really hope to be able to run one of these races as the 7 goes top of the board. Oh, scratch that. This board is changing quickly.
Yeah, the 7 of Steven Rex was straight to the top when he ran his first lap. Now Ricky Wall goes up at the Jimmy Johns. Number 88, Travis Sukup goes second, Jordan Miller third, Steven Rex in the 4th spot. Let's see if he can go any better here on his second lap. Does he improve? No, he does not. Kevin O'Hara on track, 5th place in qualifying so far. Sean O'Hara, his son, just behind him. So that father-son duo quick here tonight at Bristol. We still have several heavy hitters, though, that have not hit the racetrack, one of them being Michael Melvin. He was second quick, nearly the fastest driver at the end of practice, second quick when the session ended. Watch out for this number 36 car. Let's go on board as he rips around the bottom side of the racetrack. 16.477, 3.5 tenths off on lap 1. Lap 2 is where you're going to make your money, though. The 36 right down around the inside of the banking. That's a really solid lap.
See what he gets right here across the line.
And it's still a little ways off, only up to 10th.
Not the best run in the world, but hey, I mean, there's a pretty decent car count tonight. I think it's going to be, you know, it looks like there's going to be some good racing throughout the field. I think one thing I have definitely taken a notice of is Kevin O'Hara. One driver we usually see towards the back. He's up in the top 5 for qualifying right now. Less than a 10th off of the pole time. That's impressive to me.
It definitely is impressive for a lot of reasons. He's not only up there in the top 5, he's beating out his son, Sean O'Hara, who is in the 6th spot currently in qualifying by a decent margin as well, a couple of hundredths of a second. Clearly, they've got a pretty solid setup. I think there's a big delineation, though, between drivers who are going for qualifying pace and race pace, because we saw guys like David Levine, Tim George, Zach Shucker have more speed in qualifying than we're seeing them have, or sorry, more speed in practice than we're seeing them have in qualifying. And that could be a product of different, of changing track conditions, Zach. It is a pretty hot track, 81.7 degrees in the air, 84 on track. That's definitely not accurate to early November, but a pretty warm racetrack, that's going to change things up.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a racetrack that has an 84-degree temperature in the middle of November. It's
Phoenix, maybe.
Physically, it's Phoenix, maybe, but this is Tennessee.
Yeah.
Definitely not something
in the
you
mountains,
expect
no
to
less.
Exactly. But, you know, 2 cars left to qualify right now, and drivers that I thought that I would see towards the top of the board, Tim George, David Levine, they're 8th and 9th right now, a little over a 10th off of the pole time. So, to your point, Andrew, a lot of these drivers taking a different approach when it comes to their qualifying pace. So I'm hoping to see guys like Tim George, David Levine, Michael Melvin up there running 5th, maybe 4th, 3rd, or even running up in the front, trying to see what they can do with these cars.
For perspective, I just checked the live weather conditions in Bristol, Tennessee. 58 degrees in the air. I think the track temp would be something like that as well. So definitely not entirely accurate, but that's okay. A warm day for these guys in the virtual Bristol, Tennessee, and that's why it's virtual. 27 seconds left in qualifying. Let's take a look at our Whiplash SimCam's race details. 65 lap race, Zach, with an expected break around halfway, so around lap 32. There is that one required pit stop. You only have to change 2 tires if you so choose. You can change either side of the car, or you can change all 4. Up to 3 green-white checkers, damage healing enabled, and we only have 4 lines here, so it's difficult to fit it all in, but also, and additionally, we are debuting a choose cone rule this evening, so watch out of turn number 4, coming to the 1 to go signal on all restarts, not the start of the race, but all restarts. We do have a brand new choose cone rule debuting. We will have to see drivers either go to the top or the bottom of the racetrack. In fact, realistically, they want drivers here to choose the top or here to choose the bottom. That makes sense?
It's only gonna be, it makes perfect sense. The only thing that we need to make sure happens is that these drivers pick the correct line. I don't know if any of our viewers have ever heard what it sounds like for race control to tell you that you need to be in this specific spot because you chose this specific line, when in reality you thought you chose the other line. It's a little...
It's stressful.
Sometimes. It's a little stressful sometimes.
The
better word for it is, it gets a little upsetting when you get yelled at because you thought you were supposed to do one thing and you accidentally did the other.
Well, what we are supposed to do right now is walking down our CC's Business starting grid, brand new here to Pit Stop TV. Ricky Wall on pole, Travis Sukup second place. The bounty on Tim George is already beginning. 2 brand new drivers on the front row at Bristol Motor Speedway. Boy, this is going to be a fun night of racing. 3rd place, Jordan Miller, a newcomer to the series, not a newcomer to some of these guys, and certainly has more veteran experience, at least in this league, than the 3 cars in front and next to him, as Steven Rex will start from the 4th position outside of row number 2. Starting from 5th, it's, father-son duo there in row number 3. Kevin O'Hara inside, Sean O'Hara outside, before we get to Brian Miller and Timothy George back there in row number 4. And finally, to complete your top 10, a couple of best buds, David Levine, Michael Melvin.
Starting 11th and 12th, Joseph Tackett, Zachary Shucker. Expect to see Shucker a little bit higher up on the board, but hey, a lot of these drivers taking different approaches tonight. 13th position, Jeff Height, and 14th, Tyler Langenberg, rolling off in the 7th row tonight. And then Scott Myers, Brandon Marshall, 15th and 16th on the grid tonight. There's only 2 cars left on the grid. Other than that, to round out your 18-car field, Jack Gunset and Adam Lee. They are the 2 drivers tonight that opted not to set a lap time in qualifying.
And actually, Kyle House will bring up the rear of the field. It looks like Addison Cook not going to join us on the grid. He may join us starting from the pit lane. We've seen that happen before. 19 cars, largest field of the season so far. Definitely going to bring us some twists and turns. Zach, are you excited?
Absolutely. I'm also scared. A little scared to see how how these guys handle Bristol. We saw how Langley went, and it was really good for the first half, and then the second half they got a little bit of but hey, these guys are on a great show. They always tend to show up and show out when the time comes, and Bristol, baby, let's get ready to rumble.
65 laps the race distance, 19 cars going to contest it. There is a bounty on our 3-time race winner. He starts from the outside of the 4th row. All 4 of your current championship contenders, if the last race were now, are starting 8th or worse. We've got some drama unfolding already in Bristol, and we haven't even taken the green flag just yet. Let's get ready to go racing. Waiting on the green flag from the starter stand, Barty the flag man going to give these guys the signal to get racing at Bristol. We are green. Down the back stretch, you see everybody getting single file towards the front, or at least trying to. Kevin O'Hara losing it on the bottom side, just catches the car. He's backing up, though, to Brian Miller.
Hey, we're almost 3 wide going into the corner right there, but it looks like everyone's going to get it straightened out. Kevin O'Hara's a little bit of contact with Rex there in the 7. But it looks like they'll get straightened out, keep it moving forward, side by side, a little bit of contact with the wall in front of them. There are fights going all over this racetrack right now as Jordan Miller goes purple.
Everybody on edge, tires coming up to temperature, coming up to pressure. These guys, I'm sure, went for some pretty low pressures to get the race started. Those temps will build quickly, especially in these street kind of treaded tires. Levine, a bump there, I think, from Michael Melvin, getting everything sorted out. Zach Shucker going to go by on the top side. That promotes Shucker to 9th. Levine falls to 10th. Contact there with Tackett. He almost takes out Melvin into turn number 3.
You saw one car back there on pit road. I believe that was Addison Cook exiting the pit lane. As the fight for the lead continues, these top 3 are bumper to bumper going into turn 3. You see the different types of lines that each driver is trying to take. There's a lot of play when it comes to Bristol. You can really run the high line a lot, or when the tires come in, you can run the low line. It's very easy to be able to take this car and run it on any of those different lines and make it fast. You can see right now how these drivers are working it through these corners.
Top 3 under blanket single file. Up into the wall that time, though, is Ricky Wall in the race lead. That opens up the bottom for Jordan Miller. Super late model driver takes advantage of the bottom. He noses ahead for the race lead in 1 and 2, but can he complete the pass here in 3 and 4? The answer is yes. Slides on by on the bottom side. Going to bring Travis Suk up along with.
Yeah, but you see that run up there on the top. Wall is going to be able to put that car in a position to try and take that lead away. Jordan Miller still running the bottom, so it looks like the 88 is going to be able to hang on to the top. But here comes the 7 of Steven Rex. He is running that outside line. You can see just how much of a run he gets going through the middle of the corner. And it's going to be a 4-car fight for this lead now, with the closest car to them being Sean O'Hara, and he's still half a second behind 4th.
A season ago, none of these top 4 drivers were in the league. Now they're dominating so far in the opening 10 laps at Bristol Motor Speedway. From the top side, that's your pole sitter, Ricky Wall, trying to hang on to at least the top, the front of the top line, I guess. We're starting to get into that kind of pack mentality with these guys. 2 cars bottom, 2 cars top, and they are formed up nicely. Now bringing Sean O'Hara into the fold. He's the only driver who was here last season that is in the top 5.
This goes to show you the competition level that is really taking hold of this league, and these guys are really starting to fight and claw their ways up to the front. Drivers like Tim George down in 8th, David Levine in the 10th position. They've got some work to do if they want to be able to contend with these guys running up here, as they are still 2 by 2. Sean O'Hara and father Kevin O'Hara starting to come into the mix once again. It's about to be a 6-car fight for this lead, Andrew.
And behind these guys, Brian Miller side by side with Tim George. Levine goes high. Shucker goes high. These guys opting for the top side of the racetrack as laps wear on. Miller, contact from George up the racetrack and into the outside wall.
Very hard contact with the wall. He had to jump out of the gas to not get into him, as this lead is still a huge fight going on. The 88 all the way up on the top side, still trying to make something happen. This top line starting to come in, Andrew. You can see the runs here coming up on the outside. I think the outside's starting to be the lane to go.
The bottom was really good to start this race, and it seems like as the run goes on, the top comes into its own. Ricky Wall really using the top side there in 1 and 2, rolls back on by Jordan Miller. These guys are just getting bottlenecked down there. They have to keep the cars lower, have to carry less momentum, especially on corner exit. That's where the top side comes in. Miller going to fall back to third. Here comes Steven Rex. He's got the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, you can see Travis back there in the 45 getting a little bit free on corner exit.
Move here.
7. Steven Rex to the bottom of Ricky Wall, and they are now side by side once again for this race lead. The bottom isn't over just yet, Andrew.
Both O'Hara's gaining on this battle. They can get a 6-car fight thereabouts. And slowly, Tim George starting to crawl his way up here. I know those guys, it looks like they went for long run speed, but you've got to manage how much on you go up even on that short run. Even if you're good on the long run, you can't give up all the track position they've given up. It's going to be tough for guys like Shucker, Miller, Levine, Melvin to get up here.
He's back there fighting with Miller, trying to get that 9th position. They are still roughly a little side by side, but it looks like Miller will clear there. Levine's going to fall back in line. Miller running a high line, Levine running a little bit lower. He's got what appears to be Michael Melvin and 3 of Tackett right behind him. See, Levine is really trying to make that bottom line work as the fight for the lead continues on.
Yeah, not slowing down up here. Rex officially on through for the race lead. Sukup now working on the bottom, and Wall stays pretty steady up top. He's had a lot of speed so far in this race, especially on that top side, but Sukup using him up there out of turn number 4. They have eaten up and spit out Jordan Miller. He's fallen back to 5th. I think he burned up his right front on the bottom side of the racetrack, and Sean O'Hara, boy, the O'Haras, they are great race car engineers in real life, and it's transferring over to iRacing. As soon as these guys went open setups, and as soon as they had a few races to figure out this street stock, they have got it figured out.
Yeah, they're both running comfortably inside the top 10. Sean O'Hara has still been one of the more competitive drivers in the lead. We have contact right there for second. Nothing stopping these drivers from duking it out, even though it's only lap 22 of 65. The top line continuing to roll well, as O'Hara just trying to find a point where he can make a bit of a move, and it looks like that point is now, as he is side by side for the 3rd position.
Yeah, our top runners starting to get single file and spread apart. Rex has got a half-second lead. Caution flies for the first time tonight. Tyler Langenberg in trouble, and Zach, this is a driver who enters tonight 4th in the standings. The fact that he was running 12th or worse in these first 20 laps, that's a big-time problem.
It's only about, I believe, not 21 or 25 points. He's about 25 points out from the lead, so he really needs a good night tonight. And then here is the replay of the events that transpired. He's right behind David Levine. They're running side by side through the corner.
Links there through 1 and 2. Marshall on the inside comes up and just gets into the left rear of the 91 car. Easy spin there on the front stretch. Hangs on to it. Doesn't get into the wall or anything. Really quick yellow there. We have got a flood of drivers in the pit lane. Jordan Miller at the top of the bunch so far. Kevin O'Hara. Zach Shucker, it looks like, goes for a 2-tire stop. Remember, these guys have to make at least 1 tire change. It can be 2 or 4. Doesn't matter what tires it is. But they have to make at least 1 tire change in this race. They can opt to go for the fastest 4-tire stop of the race for a bonus point, but that's going to take a while here tonight at Bristol, especially with how quickly the pace car works around this racetrack.
Was a little odd right there for Jordan Miller. I don't know if he actually took 4 tires. He went off the jack, and I never saw the left side go up.
Sukup down in the pit lane, along with Ricky Wall, Travis, Steven Rex, all of our newcomers coming through. And there's Rex heading back up onto the racetrack, a 10.04 second stop. It looks like the top driver to go for 4 so far has been Kevin O'Hara. That's a 21.75 second stop. Michael Melvin just behind by 3/1000ths of a second. And I don't see... Actually, I do see one faster, Zach. Scott Myers, 20.67. We might have to review to make sure that was for 4.
Scott seems to be the one who keeps turning the fast pit stops, and I believe you meant Sean O'Hara there for the 21.75 stop instead of Kevin.
Yes. So here's Scott Myers up on the right side, and I believe he's going to go for the left sides as well. That would make sense as to why he ended up taking 20.67 seconds. Scott Myers, yes, up on the jacks. That is your current fastest pit stop of the race. Brought to you by Elevated Performance. To rise, you must elevate. And rising so far in this race is Scott Myers, at least on the pit lane. A really, really solid pit stop again. He is down there, though, Zach, in the 15th position on the racetrack, right behind Tyler Langenberg, who just spun to bring out our caution. Additionally, how about a mix-up at the front of the field? By virtue of drivers pitting on separate laps, we've got a new couple of front runners. The guys we're used to seeing up here, Zach Shucker, David Levine, your front row, Sean O'Hara third. This changes things up, and we did miss the choose there, Zach. A lot going on.
Yeah, I did not expect Sean O'Hara to choose the bottom there behind David Levine. I expected him to go top, but hey, to each their own, and these drivers are all lined up, ready to go, and we're getting ready to turn them loose once again.
Waiting on the green flag, this time by out of turn number 4. Doubled up, drivers chose their lanes for the first time in this series. Into the restart zone, green flag again at Bristol. Brandon Marshall, new to the top 5 here tonight, only run a couple of races so far. Whoa, Joey Tackett got real loose there out of the corner. 1 lap complete off the restart.
Yeah, the outside line looked like it was the way to go. Zach Shucker was able to get a mondo restart and take the lead by almost 2/10, but here comes David Levine, seeing what he can do on that bottom line. Sean O'Hara right behind him. The fight for the lead heating up.
And how about Steven Rex?
Oh, look at that!
Big crossover.
Sean O'Hara.
Big crossover from the 7 straight to the inside of the 18 car, and Sean O'Hara loses some time at quarter exit. Levine comes down and blocks that move.
And he's going to stay running that bottom line, Levine, as we got 1 car in the wall back there coming off the floor.
Brandon Marshall, car 71, I think. He's slow at the very least. He lost a bunch of spots there on the front stretch, and Brandon took tires. I'm not sure what's going on for the 71 car, but he is completely off pace right now. Really, really struggling.
Even Rex just went purple that time by as well. Still trying to fight with Sean O'Hara and David.
Whoa!
Whoa! Contact!
Steven Rex around on the backstretch, and
they're all piling in.
That is your classic Bristol pileup.
Well, talk about perfect timing right there to catch all the action at Bristol Motor Speedway.
And that will serve as our halfway break. That really was good timing. Here is the replay. Car 7 and car 18. I believe it was this time. Might have been the next lap. Looks like it is the next lap.
Just went purple on this lap. Oh, gets really sideways in 2.
Right there.
Oh.
Melvin, a quick miss on the bottom side, and most of these guys got by okay. Just a couple of cars trying to get by, spinning, kind of making contact with each other. Nothing too crazy, but again, damage healing enabled will help these guys out a bunch. One more look at what happened here to Steven Rex. Let's take a look on the onboard. Just got loose. Just fighting the car all the way. Got loose in 2, was trying to hold it, continued to get loose. Got hit there by Brian Miller, held it up in the outside wall. And a really good run goes sour.
Did a good job staying out of the way, though, making sure all the drivers were able to make it through. If I was Michael Melvin, my goodness, I would be having a Coke Brown moment. Almost hitting a car, then almost hitting the wall. That was an absolute mega save by Melvin to keep that track position.
Go grab yourself a lottery ticket.
That would be the smart move.
I wouldn't call it smart. It's maybe something you should do after a lucky save like that, a lucky miss, but I wouldn't advocate for it. It's money spent that you aren't guaranteed to get back, especially, I mean, these guys, let's talk about Lucky Motorsport Solutions for a moment. They have put together one of the best grassroots road racing operations I've ever seen, and I think that might have been the choose. We can see cars. That was not it, I don't think. It looked like the top guys were choosing. I can't tell. Well, pace car lights are off. That was supposed to be the choose. Everybody just kind of took the bottom.
Interesting.
Regardless, Zach, what I was getting to was the fact that Lucky Motorsports Solutions has been built from the ground up to be one of the best, if not the best, grassroots road racing operation as far as building cars, maintaining cars, housing cars, getting cars to the racetrack, operating that car, and team at the racetrack and winning races. It's been proven these last few years. Check out Lucky Motorsports on social media. They are into more than just racing as well. Wrap installation, a whole bunch of stuff going on in Statesville, North Carolina, but we are into the restart zone and green flag racing once more at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And through turns 1 and 2, hello Ricky Wall on the bottom side of the racetrack, contrary to his last name, working by Jordan Miller here, first lap from the restart.
He's definitely taking advantage of those new tires, trying to see where he can put that car and make moves on this racetrack right now, moving up into what appears to be the 5th position. Just trying to hang on to it right now, still side by side. Michael Melvin right in front of them. Sean O'Hara up in the 3rd spot, almost tagged the wall there, but they are side by side all over the racetrack.
Yeah, the 88 is racing for 5th back here, or I should say up here, ahead of Sukup, ahead of Tackett. Contact there with Tackett and George. And how about our points leader? 3 races won. We're about to take 25 laps to go, Zach. This is a big time difference from what we're used to seeing for Tim George. This is the view ahead. He has got to go through 8 cars if he wants to get back to 1st place.
Look at where David Levine is. He's 2nd in points, and he's looking to go for the lead right now underneath Zach Shucker. Falls back in line. This is the type of day that David Levine needs. He needs to get a win. He needs to be able to put himself in position to where he does not have to worry about points to be one of those final 4 drivers at the end of the season.
Keep in mind who's 3rd, though, in the standings.
Yes, that would be Zach Shucker.
Yeah, this is 2nd and 3rd in reverse. So really 3rd and 2nd of the standings, running 1-2 right now. Coming up on 20 laps to go. Ricky Wall side by side with Sean O'Hara. O'Hara was real loose out of turn number 2 that time. Squeezes down on the 88 that time through 3 and 4. These guys are starting to get even more racy. They've been racy since the drop of the green, but it's only ramping up.
We might have a problem. Tim George was in the wall through 3 and 4, and he's all the way back in the 18th position now. He can't get off the wall.
That is a big issue. Back to dead last, 19th place for Tim George, points leader and race 1, 2, and 3 winner. Let's take a look back and see what happened to car 00. This is the lap leading up to it, and we might get a yellow. Yeah, we've just got a yellow. So we'll get a look at that here in a moment. But Tim George off into turn 1. Watch it here. Actually, turn 3. Boom.
Just grab the wall. And it's like a magnet. When you grab that wall, you just cannot get off of it. It wants to keep pulling you in and pulling you in. And he rode the wall through 3 and 4, and he's still riding the wall in 1 and 2. Almost made contact with Kevin O'Hara, which might have instigated going into the wall there.
Looks like an incident after the fact for maybe... Who it was I saw slow. Was it the 40 of Jordan Miller, maybe? Let's watch this group of cars. Might have been Langenberg, actually. There was somebody slow. It saw for a moment what was going on. One more shot. Oh, Brandon Marshall was involved. That's who I thought it was. See, Marshall and Miller joined the league at the same time. They're both brand new to me. I get their names and numbers confused a lot in my head. It was just Marshall getting into Tackett. Tackett went up and nearly got into Jeff Height. Thankfully, they got it all sorted out pretty quick. It just spurred, I suppose, a yellow flag there on the front stretch. Nothing too crazy, and now puts us inside of 20 to go with an interesting little opportunity for pit stops. So, a 2-tire pit stop here for Tyler Langenberg. And for Kevin O'Hara, he's been in the pit lane for a while. 50 seconds. That might have been a penalty, honestly.
It full well could have been. No need for damage repair due to the damage healing with these cars in this league, and it shouldn't have constituted any sort of damage repair. So I think you're right there, Andrew. It might have just been a penalty.
He might have been coming in for 2, sped on entry, because a penalty like that, a hold is 40 seconds. So take away 40 seconds, that's right around the time for a two-tire stop.
You might be right just about. And it looks like these drivers are making a little bit of contact here.
That
Sean O'Hara shows the bottom.
I think that was an attempt at a choose. They may have also scratched the choose. I don't think we've seen much choosing. I'm sure we'll get confirmation at some point, and it's a work in progress. It's something we're trying to add mid-season. It is going to be, again, a process, a learning curve for some of these guys who have never experienced a choose cone rule in the past, especially with no physical choose cone on the racetrack. Top 3, actually top 4, let's run through them. Zach Shucker, David Levine, Sean O'Hara, Michael Melvin. Let's see how this goes. This time out of turn number 4. Looking for the restart zone, and we are back green. 16 to go at Bristol Motor Speedway. Side by side, second and third, Levine and Melvin.
Shucker has very greatly benefited from choosing the outside line on these restarts. He really gets away well, leaving Levine in the dust. Sean O'Hara fighting side by side with Melvin. Miller and Wall side by side for 5th. Battles going on all over the racetrack as we take 15 laps to go. And Levine is right on that back bumper of Shucker.
Tim George into 16th. He's beginning to claw back through some of those spots, but he's still deep down in the field. Here's the onboard with second place, David Levine, as he looks ahead at Zach Shucker. This is a very important battle in this race in particular. I think Tim will end up dropping this race if he finishes down where he is currently, but these two going for second and third in the standings, this is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, top 4, actually top 5. We've got single file now. Trying to find wherever they can put those cars to get some grip, get some heat in the tires, and be able to move forward. As Levine has been fully committed to the bottom side of the racetrack this entire race. I don't know how well it's going to benefit him, but he is still hanging some with Shucker. Melvin right behind him. O'Hara on the bottom, trying to move forward as well. These drivers are just finding what works for them at the moment, see where they can go.
Crash in the back, Jeff Height involved. He spins around. Kevin O'Hara is going to spin into him.
Big wreck on the back straightaway.
That was a big hit, particularly for those two cars, and thank goodness for damage hailing being enabled. That was a massive hit. Let's see what happened here to Jeff Height to begin all of this. Racing back with Stephen Rex, Addison Cook, big contact to the wall. That was Tim George and Tyler Langenberg. But here's what spars the caution, blinking from Addison Cook. Yeah.
That was, and then Kevin O'Hara just comes in flying.
I hate that it's coming down to it in some of these cases, but when you have aggressive net coding like that, we wouldn't be under caution right now if it wasn't for the connection issue here for Addison. Just disappears, and somehow iRacing netcode slams the 24 in the fence.
That is just unfortunate for the 24 and the 29 to be in that situation.
There's the contact between Langenberg and George. Langenberg definitely stuffed the double O. I don't think that was intentional at all, just hard racing back in the field, but I mean, that's the kind of racing for 90th meme, Zach. You're racing below 15th position. How hard do you need to race?
If I were Tim George, I'd race as hard as I can. I need every single point to...
Well, he wasn't the one putting somebody in the fence.
That is true.
And again, it's certainly nothing intentional, just a small mistake. I'm sure Langenberg felt like he had the corner, just pushed up out of corner exit. It happens, especially here at Bristol. You use your right sides up so much, Zach. I mean, you've run plenty of sim races here, I'm sure. You can attest to it. I mean, you ran the UFL race here over the summer.
Best race I've ever run with that league. All the other races were terrible, at least for me.
So I have a hunch, a hypothesis, if you will, that these guys are starting to choose on the front stretch as opposed, oh, there we go, okay, as opposed to the restart zone. And yes, there you go. So this is the choose. Levine went low. I think it was Melvin that followed, and you're starting to see these guys in the back. It's kind of just a free flow.
See just how much they're all just moving around back there, seeing what they can do and what positions they can gain. But it seems like everybody kind of sticks with the same mentality of NASCAR-style restarts where just kind of go into the opposite lane of the other driver. So not many positions gained back there, but hey, we're coming down to just a few laps remaining, a little over 5 laps to go, Andrew, and we're getting ready to turn them loose once again.
7 to go, this time by when the exit turn number 4. Shucker outside, Levine inside. That's been the formation for a while. Can car 59 do anything? We're back green at Bristol. Let's find out. They stack up in the back. Marshall to the inside of Rex. 3 wide into turn 1. They sort it out. Marshall backs out. Miller, though, Brian Miller on the top side, bobbles around and gets in line.
Very, very close to wrecking back there as Levine continues to struggle on the restarts. I don't think he has a short run car compared to Shucker, as Melvin is taking a look down the inside into turn 1. Can't get it done. Sean O'Hara now to his outside. Wall in the 88, Miller in the 40.
Big crash!
Oh, big crash! Turn 3.
Cars everywhere.
My goodness.
I don't think brakes were used.
What's a brake?
Let's take a look at what starts. I think it might have started with the 7, and it was the 28 of Kyle House and the 45 of Travis Sukup. Look at who gets through the middle of that. We'll get to that in a moment.
Indoors. Yeah, my goodness.
We'll get to his replay in a moment. One more look what was going on. Sukup was way down to the inside and 1. Don't know where the 45 was going there. Then out of turn number 2, House gets him in the right rear, and they just wad him up. Addison Cook, Tyler Langenberg, and then Jack Gunsit comes in at the end. That was a big hit from the 73 car.
See the 24 there just coming in a little late as well. Know where he could really go.
And here's the onboard for Tim George. Points leader, been running very poorly today. Has won the opening 3 races of this series, and the seas parted for him right there to get on through this crash. He now lines up 12th under caution. That might have just saved the day a little bit. Again, he'll be able to drop a couple of races, as will everybody in this series. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to affect the championship much once we start figuring those drop weeks in. But you still want to try and rally back. What if another crash happens ahead of you and you're able to split on through? Maybe you can go back into the top 5 or so.
Definitely a possibility. Take any position that you can get, any advantage on the racetrack that benefits you in any single way. He definitely needs it. I know you have been saying he has the ability to drop these races, but take whatever you can get. Do not have to put yourself in a position where you need to worry about taking those drop races. Do what you can, do what you need to do, and put yourself in a position that you can eventually end up in victory lane as many times as you can.
He's only been as high as 6th in this race. Hasn't even broken into the top 5.
My goodness.
Well, let's try this again. We are going to extend this race into overtime, so this will count as green-white checkered attempt number 1. You see where everybody chooses here across the front stretch. Now the key here, guys, is wall or apron. If you drive over the center, that is not a choose. That would be an end of the longest line if this were NASCAR. A learning experience, I think, with the choose cone. We'll get it sorted out for sure, but we're going to stack them up, re-rack them, restack them, as they say, and send them back around this racetrack with 2 laps to go. It's a green-white checkered format, meaning if we complete the green lap, we go white, the race is official. If we get a caution on the green lap, we re-rack them, restack them. We have 2 more attempts to do so. Outside, Zach Shucker. Inside, David Levine. False start there from the 36. Melvin jacked up the 48, and that's going to keep David Levine just a little bit closer.
Yeah, Levine finally had the restart that he needed. He's on the bottom, taking advantage of it. Not totally clear yet, but it looks like he might be able to sail it off into 3. Get a good run. Here comes Melvin to the bottom.
White flag brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams there, and the 48 jacked up the 59. Levine stays low. This for all the marbles at Bristol. Or are we going to see some bumpers in turn 3? I think so. Shucker in the wall. Melvin goes up. Wall gets into the 48. They're going to crash in the back, but your winner at Bristol is David Levine.
Wreck behind for 2nd and 3rd. Shades of Tony Stewart and Matt Kenton. Melvin 2nd. O'Hara
Zach
3rd.
Shucker just crossed the line. 14th. 15th. Positions are still getting sorted out. Here come the rest of the field to try and sort this race out. I think some angry drivers as they come back around. But look for car 59. He's gone to victory lane this evening at Bristol. David Levine has got his first win on the season, and there was a bounty put on the head of the driver of the 00. 5 points if you win this race, I believe, as a bonus, and I think David Levine just claimed it.
Was I not? We had David in the booth a little bit before the race started. Was I not telling him he needed to go out there and get himself a win?
You were, and I think you mentioned at some point in the early goings of this broadcast that you just might see the 59 car in victory lane. I would call this unexpected until that last restart, though. We saw so many restarts where Levine was inside, Shucker was outside, and it took until that last one, Michael Melvin getting into the 48 car, for anything to change.
I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket now. Thank you very much.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it, but to each their own. Let's take a look back at what happened there on that last restart. So, everybody pacing around, that's the green flag. We actually want to dial that back just a little bit more. I want to see the contact from the 36 car. Watch Michael Melvin. This from the tower. Melvin gets into the 48 a little bit right there, and that, I think it spooked Shucker a little bit. I think he ought to miss a shift in 1 and 2, but more importantly, I think Levine went when Melvin went, and that helped him anticipate that restart a bunch.
Yeah, it's the mind games, really, that you can do when it comes to the restarts. A lot of these drivers, especially at the short tracks, they'll do some door checking or a little bit of bumper tag to see if they can psych out those drivers. But look at the contact right there on the back bumper of Levine and Shucker. Levine tried to clear himself.
Melvin sent the 59 there in 1 and 2, and that is what put Shucker in the wall. Then here comes Ricky Wall. He goes 3 when there's really no room. Contact, that's Bristol for you.
My goodness. Tim George, nowhere to go right there. And, you know, what turned into leading at the restart turned into a 15th place finish for Zach Shucker. Look at Tim George crossing the line backwards.
That was a clutch decision. He held that position over Zach Shucker. Kind of insult to injury, but here's the crash in 3 and 4. Ricky Wall just getting a little over aggressive, but it's the last lap, the last corner at Bristol. And how about Tim George? That's almost equally as painful. He was up to about 7th, 8th, and he gets involved in that and finishes 14th.
What a night to forget for Tim George. Definitely going to be a drop race for him.
Here's the last lap for him. Actually, this is coming around to the white flag.
See, he's getting positions. He's on the outside of Myers. He's putting himself in a good spot. And then you see the fighting up there in front of him, and this is where it starts to unfold.
Here, he's into 10th. He's going to grab 9th with Kyle House spinning. So he's in 9th, I think. No, 10th still, actually. 9 cars ahead. Would have gone straight on through and finished about 7th. And gets into the 40. And then I don't know where Addison Cook is going there at the end.
There was a line that opened up right there on the bottom, but Jordan Miller probably would have still spun down there and taken him out in the end game. See the motion behind him.
Cook carried Tackett into the wall, and then here's the onboard still as they go down to turn 3. Holding the bottom, wide open. And that just launched Shucker into the double O car. There were many, many problems for those guys before that, though. It really had all gone sour already. 88 just tries to go 3, washes up. That's not going to be popular from the 48 camp, but again, it's Bristol, short track racing.
That's Bristol, baby.
It is. Joey Tackett had trouble there on that last restart. He gets into Kevin O'Hara. That's how that spin starts. That collects Addison Cook and Jack Gunsett. Kyle House had a separate issue. Oh, man. They kept taking hits back here. Let's check it out for the 28 car of Kyle House. He was racing with guys like Brandon Marshall, and that's how this happened to the backstretch. Oh, House just got loose.
Yeah, he dipped the left front onto the apron, and it was not going well. Oh, my goodness. Talk about being sandwiched.
I don't think Jack's foot came off the throttle for a second at all of that. I mean, he's back here looking at the entire field in front of him. He's just trying to get something out of it. He's going to end up finishing 18th.
He's got Freebird playing in the background. Go for it, man.
Oh, my God.
Go for it.
Wow. That's not how anybody wanted their evening to end here at Bristol, but maybe save for David Levine. A big win for him tonight, going to victory lane unexpectedly, I'd say, again, until the green flag on that last restart. Let's talk to driver 59. Zach Murtis called his shot early before the broadcast even started, said you'd be one to watch, David. You go to victory lane, you claim the bounty on Tim George. That's got to feel pretty satisfying, especially in that last restart battle with Shucker and Melvin behind you.
Yeah, it was a good day for the 59 Berkshire Hathaway Home Services car. I think we're pretty good out there, which was great. Murtis, I appreciate the faith too, buddy. It was good. I think Tim and I started the year with back-to-back 1-2 finishes, and last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the last points race was. I think probably also should have been another 1-2 finish for Tim and I. Things at the ends changed and it didn't go our way, but it's nice to finally just get the strategy call right on the pit stop, take 2 tires and get up to the front. And I knew that I had a better car on the short run than Zach did, and on the restart, he tried to come down a little bit on me into one. I kind of leaned on and pushed him up the track, and then I think it was Melvin had the run and made sure getting into the corner that I was clear. So I definitely didn't want to move Zach up into the fence like that. Feel bad for sure, but appreciate the help from Melvin shoving me off in there and clearing me.
Yeah, he gave a shot to the 48 car, and it sounded or looked like when he kind of went early, when Melvin hit the gas early, got into Shucker, it looked like, again, that was kind of when you hit the throttle, and it just kind of worked out that you anticipated the restart in that way. Was that intentional? Was that accidental? What went on there to even get you that advantage into turn 1?
It's definitely an old go-karting trick. As soon as I heard the contact, I figured that's, if I was the leader and if I heard third place, the outside rope, throttle up and hit the leader, as soon as I hear that contact, I'm going too, because I know that they're just going to freight train me around the top side. And that's, pretty much what happened. Melvin gave Zach the shot into the restart box, and that's when Zach took it as his cue to go, to take the momentum and use it as his cue, which I think was, again, the right move. But it's just, I guess that's kind of... I've been around in this situation before. I've had this experience both on iRacing and in real life and go-karts and some stock car stuff. So I knew what to expect, and as soon as I heard that, it was just kind of instinct right there to stand on it and try to race him off into one.
And hey, as far as points, the closest finishing driver to you that comes into tonight in the top 5 in standings was Brandon Marshall. He finished at 6th. Nobody else in the top 5 is even close to you in points. Things certainly going to shake up. Now, of course, there are 2 drops that will get figured in, but in the short term, this has a massive impact on the standings. You grabbing the win and that crash in turn 3, taking out guys like Zach Shucker and worsening a day for Tim George. Is there any kind of altered game plan now when we go back racing at Tsukuba in a couple of weeks, our first road course of the season? Do you take it a little bit easier knowing that this race is going to help you out?
I think, based on a couple things too, based on how our point structure works, with the driver with the most amount of wins automatically locking into the finale, and then it being the next 3 in points. Right now I'm 2nd in points, 2nd on the win list. So Tim is locked in, and I'm there on points. So anything that I can do to either get wins and keep my foot on the throttle and trying to get wins, I think is what we have to do. And I'm definitely looking forward to the road course race next, because you guys know that's kind of my background, is heavy cars on road courses with little tiny baby brakes. So definitely looking forward to Tsukuba next time out with you guys, and it should be a lot of fun.
David Levine goes to victory lane this evening at Bristol. Congratulations, race 4 winner, car 5-9.
I appreciate it, and a big old ka-chow for the little dude back home.
I think he had just fallen asleep before the finish of the race, but I think my call to the checkered flag might have woken him up. I'm sure he'll be happy. David Levine grabs the win. I think I might have moved him up right as he was keying the mic back up. Apologies there, but hey, Zach, Michael Melvin goes 2nd place tonight in a crazy finish at Bristol. Just how we like it at this half mile. Here comes driver 36.
Yeah, what a crazy race. Michael Melvin ends up in the 2nd place position. Well, I don't know if you expected to be in 2nd. I don't know if you expected to win the race, but it was definitely one heck of a restart. Let's walk us through that green, white, checkered finish for you.
Boy, I tell you what, my car, I feel like I had a real good short run in her. But we started going more than about 10 laps. I feel like someone threw a stick in my spokes, and I just started going backwards. So I knew I had to capitalize on these really short runs, just make every position I could where I could.
Well, the short yellows absolutely kept you in the hunt. They kept you in those short runs to be able to maximize the setup in your car. You were sticking around the top 5 for the majority of those last few runs when those yellows were coming into play. We saw just differing, well, let's just say opinions when it came to the drivers, when it came to the outside and the inside. Did you feel that your car was more beneficial to the high line or maybe to the low line when it came to fighting around these guys?
Man, I felt like on a short run, my car could run absolutely anywhere I wanted. I could place it and it would just stick.
Well, it definitely looked like it. You were able to hold pace with a lot of these guys on that last run. We noticed a little bit when it came down to that final restart that you might have got into Zach Shucker just a teensy bit when it came to the restart? Were you trying to psych him out in any way, trying to benefit yourself when it came to the restart being on the outside, or did you think maybe, just maybe, I can give him a little tap on the restart and go for it down to 1?
Oh, I was trying to get that outside line moving, man. I knew Davey was going to be quick, so if we could get going up around that top side and get a nice gap to him, maybe I could fight it out for the lead.
Well, you were definitely duking it out there for the lead. You come home second place tonight, and a solid points day, especially with a lot of these drivers who were up there in the points not having a totally great day on the board. So congrats to you on your second place finish tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Michael Melvin, your second place finisher tonight, and Andrew, Sean O'Hara, waiting on us as the third place finisher tonight here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
And Sean had a ton of speed early, had fallen back through the mid portion of the race, but never really fell out of our sights. Sean O'Hara, third place tonight. Got to feel like a pretty good day, even if maybe you had a better car early in the race. Could definitely bring it to the new guys that were out front. But then, after the pit stops around lap 25 or so, it seemed like things shifted. You had all of your usual suspects around you to race, and you just couldn't break through to get past them.
No, with such short runs, my car I set up for a little bit longer run situation, so I was hoping to play out the long game, and that's why I took 4 tires there at that pit stop. Knew I was going to lose a little bit of track position, but figured that I could at least, if we got a long run, that I could pretty much drive past those guys pretty good if I had the 4 tires. So.
Well, it's good to see you up here towards the front because you missed the first race of the season. Of course, field racing obligations holding you back to get started back at Charlotte, but this is kind of a good springboard for more points. Third place, going to keep you up in the fight, moving your way through the top 10.
Yeah, hopefully I can make more of the regular races, but with the testing schedule in the off season, who knows how that all works, but we'll hopefully make it, and hopefully we'll put on a good show and pull off a victory this year.
Well, in a couple weeks, we're going road course racing for the first time this season, taking these big, heavy, well, not really big, heavy cars, but heavy cars out to Tsukuba Circuit. Definitely kind of an odd matchup. How do you feel for the first road course of the season?
The first road course is going to be pretty difficult in these cars, especially with pretty much like drum brakes that these cars feel like they have. But hopefully we can put a good setup in it and run towards the front.
There you go, Sean O'Hara. You guys clearly got something figured out with the setup game, by the way. A lot of speed early in the race. Congratulations on that good run to get started. Congratulations on a third place. Hopefully we're talking to you at Tsukuba.
I hope so too. Thank you very much.
Sean O'Hara, tons of speed tonight, just couldn't harness it when he needed to get by for the race win. That, of course, goes to David Levine. A check here through your full unofficial race results. Levine up top, Melvin second, Sean O'Hara third, Stephen Rex there in the fourth place, Brian Miller goes fifth, and while I'm thinking of it, Scott Myers hangs on to the fastest pit stop of the race, 4-tire pit stop of the race, brought to you by Elevator Performance. Of course, to rise, you must elevate. Brandon Marshall goes 6th. Myers ends up 7th. There you see Ricky Wall in the 8th spot. Travis Sukup in 9th. Tyler Langenberg, Zach, rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, and then rolling down the field, Jordan Miller, who was up there setting purple laps at the start of this race, ended up 11th. Maybe just used up his tires a little bit too much. Kevin O'Hara, who qualified a solid 5th position tonight, finishes in the 12th position. Addison Cook started from the pit lane, ends up 13th. Timothy George, a night to forget for him. Never ran higher than, I believe you said 6th tonight, Andrew, and ends up 14th on the grid. 15th tonight for Zach Shucker, and then Jeff Height, Kyle House, Jack Gunset, and Joseph Tackett, rounding out your 19-car field tonight.
And I know we're all very passionate about this racing, but I think we have to be reminded that this is all for fun. There aren't big money rewards. This isn't a big money series. These guys are having fun on Tuesday nights and trying to spread the word about Elevated Performance where they can as well. And there definitely will be some tempers out of this race. I think guys need to let it cool, though. It's Bristol. If you've ever watched a NASCAR race, particularly out of the mid-2000s here, you'll know that is Bristol. That's just how Bristol goes. People leave this place upset, ready to punch their drivers, or in this case, their competitors next to them, or sorry, monitors next to them. It's how it goes. It's Bristol Motor Speedway. It is the world's fastest half mile. It is the last great Coliseum. There will be tempers. There will be crashes. sometimes, as we saw, a bunch of crashes coming to the checkered flag. That's just how it goes.
It's Bristol, baby. We've seen helmets tossed. We've seen punches thrown. We've seen Hon devices thrown. It's too many things can get you aggravated here. It's the super speedway of the short tracks. You just gotta take it as it is, move on with the night, and well, you still got a lot of races left to run in the season to be able to make those points back up.
And about those races left to go, next up we go to Tsukuba Circuit. Now that race, tentatively, is backing up to November 21st, the Tuesday headed into Thanksgiving. That is going to be moving around a little bit. There's some fluidity right now with the rest of the schedule and exactly how these races will play out, but they will stay in this order. At least that is the plan. So the dates might change a little bit. It sounds like we're going to take a week off again after this race and go racing November 21st. Then be back the 28th, 5th, 12th, and 19th to the end of the year. But Tsukuba next, and then Oxford, Iowa, Lanier Dirt, Lanier, and then we get back to a road course at Texas. Really interesting races coming up, Zach.
Oh yeah, and I want to race some of them. I want to race at Daytona and that Texas race. That looks fun. Myrtle Beach too. I think Myrtle Beach is going to be a great track for these cars. It's been one of my favorites when it comes to the sim. Southern National is a track that these cars actually race at in real life. I've seen street stock race there myself. They do run pretty well there when it comes to, you know, the actual street stock. So to see them end their season there is going to be real fun. There's a lot of great tracks on the schedule as well that I'm looking forward to. The one track that I'm concerned about is Oxford. If they got irritated with each other at Bristol, I can't wait to see what's going to happen when they go to Oxford.
Well, the good news is there's no walls. They can go handle it outside of the racetrack and have their fun, and the rest of the race will keep on happening. I love Oxford. It's such a cool racetrack. So different from anything else you'll see this season. Really looking forward to it. The closest thing to be Langley, and even that is very, very different from Oxford Plains Speedway. That'll do it for us, though, this evening, Zach. Glad to have you along for the ride once again. We'll get you in a car here soon. Don't worry, as we have plenty of races left to go this season. Here is a look at what's upcoming for us at Pit Stop TV. Next up, Brands Hatch for the Barber Ford Mustang Club. Well, Mustang Club, and it is both. It's the Barber Ford Mustang Club and the Mustang Club presented by Barber Ford. Anyhow, we're going racing Friday evening, November the 10th at Brands Hatch on the short course, the Indy course. That's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have a field of, I'd guess, about 15 to 20 or so Mustangs, all with the same set. Well, not set. I think it might be open setup still. And it's just occurring to me, Zach, before when I set this graphic up, I didn't even notice it. The next three broadcasts are all Mustang centric. We've got all Mustangs on the racetrack this Friday, and then 2 production car challenge races after that, going to Summit Point and to Imola. And we have Mustangs all across the board. That's pretty special.
Yeah, it's going to be a Mustang week. It's like Shark Week, but for Mustangs, when you really think about it. Nothing? Okay.
I'm not following. That's okay, though.
It's like Shark Week, but it's Mustangs.
I see. Okay, I got you. Well, see, I'm over here reading a message from Michael Melvin about how he wanted to get that Sterling Marlin line in there. By the way, he got you a little bit with the accent, but it's good to finally talk to Michael. It's been a long time coming. I do want to talk about, though, Summit Point for these guys in Production Car Challenge. David Levine, Tim George, they've been running these races in Renault Clios. In fact, they ran the Nürburgring this past Monday evening, well, last night, and hopefully we see them back in those cars for Summit Point. That's going to be an interesting race, Zach. We're going from the biggest track on the schedule to, I think, one of the shortest, if not the shortest at Summit Point. That's going to be a challenge for these guys. It's going to be tough. There's not much racing room. It's a very narrow racetrack.
I've been running a few races at Summit Point over the last week, and I can absolutely assure you that, yes.
Yes. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be racing next up here in the Lucky Motorsports Street Stocks at Tsukuba Circuit. It looks like November 21st. Make sure to join us for that one. In the meantime, tune into all of these broadcasts on your screen. And a shout out to those who make it happen for us behind the scenes. Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, and CC's Business. Of course, a shout out to Scott Myers, today's driver with the fastest pit stop, brought to you by Elevated Performance. That'll do it for us this evening. David Levine elevated above the rest, going to victory lane. And I don't know where I was going with that line, but he elevates above the rest, wins here, and we've got some very angry drivers behind him. I know that for sure. Make sure to tune in on all of the races we've got coming up, and to give a big shout out to our partners down at the bottom of the screen in audio, ATVO, Whiplash SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That's it from the Mixing Bowl in Tennessee, known as Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll see you next time at Tsukuba, hopefully Friday evening as well at Brands Hatch.